Hi, I'm Tom. This is Mina, and this is Kitty Help Desk. So, as I'm recording this today, Hurricane Ian is descending upon Florida, and it may affect the weather where I live, and we may have a lot of rain and a lot of high-intensity winds. And so at some point we may be asked to evacuate, and I just wanted to address kind of what you need to consider when evacuating with your cats. Cats are going to have a really difficult time with it no matter how well you prepare. Unlike us, they can't really understand why this is happening and why they're being uprooted from their territory. I mean, anytime you take your cat out of your home, it's traumatic for them because they're not getting the reassurance of their territory. Now, there are some cats that really like to go out and experience new things. Maine Coons, Norwegian forest cats like those tend to like to be out and meet new people. And a lot also depends on the socialization that your cat went through during development. But in general, most cats really dislike being taken out of their home, especially if they're being forcibly taken out of their home, where they're not on a harness and a lead, but are in a carrier and forced to live in a carrier for a period of time. So what I would suggest is make sure, first of all, that you own as many carriers as you have cats, and get as large a carrier as you can. If your cat really likes it cozy and likes, some cats like smaller carriers, you can always put a fleece blanket in there and kind of cozy it up and make it smaller. Putting a blanket in the carrier is also really helpful for accidents that may happen. This kiddo here tends to urinate when she gets really super frightened. So I've often gone to the vet with cat urine all over my shirt, but that's okay because she can't really control it. And it just indicates just how frightening that can be for them. So you would just want to make sure you have your carriers set up and that you check them out, make sure that they're in good shape, because you may end up being somewhere where they're not allowed out of the carriers very frequently. So in that case, a larger carrier is definitely going to be an advantage. Hard-sided carriers are also an advantage if you're traveling in the car and you need to strap them down and still give the cats some room to move around inside the carrier, but keep them safe in case something inside the car becomes dislodged and impacts the carrier. As far as your kits, your items that you carry with you when you're evacuating, you want to make sure that you have at least 2 weeks worth of food, that you kind of rotate in and out of stock. I always try to make sure that I have excess amounts of food, at least 2 months worth of food on hand, because over the pandemic, we all saw how quickly things ran out of stock when we kind of least expected it. So I make sure, have plenty of food on hand, and I buy them in cases so that it's very easy to kind of move them around. They don't have to be in a container. You can just pick up a case and move it, put it in the car, floorboard, back seat, trunk, whatever you want to do. The other thing you want to make sure is that your cats have collars. As you can see, Mina doesn't wear a collar every day in the house because she's frightened of the outdoors. It's unlikely she would ever get outdoors. But during this kind of situation where we're facing an evacuation, she does have a collar. And she used to wear it every day when I lived in Los Angeles because I lived in apartments. I never knew if someone was going to come into the apartment when I wasn't there. That's a whole other story. But she wore a collar 24/7, and so I have collars that have their name and my phone number stitched into them that both Lucy and Mina have, and I would put my collars on them. I'd also make sure that your cats are microchipped. Microchips are not very expensive, and there are free databases. I'll link to an article about microchips down below too. But there are free databases, so really, the companies that sell microchips tend to want to be in the recurring income business. So they want to sell you like an annual update thing. You don't need that. There are 2 really good free databases that you can have your cat's information added to free of charge, and they're just as reliable as the paid services. So just make sure your cats are microchipped. In terms of supplies, you also want to make sure that you have A litter box, I tend to put a litter box in the floorboard of the car so that if we're parked somewhere, they can go down there. And it also blocks off underneath the seat so they can't get under the seat. I have a Jeep Wrangler, so there's kind of limited space already. But yeah, I put the litter box down on the floorboard, then they can climb down there, use it, climb back out. And the addition, I mean, this sounds a little weird, but the addition of their scents from the litter box inside the car actually helps them to feel more at home. You want to take frequent breaks, and you want to take breaks for yourself just so that you're not super agitated during what is a sort of anxious experience, you know, being uprooted from your home, not knowing what's going to happen back home. But it's important that you stay calm for their sake, because they're really not going to understand where your anxiety is coming from, and they're going to kind of default to the idea that anxiety equals predators. So they're going to think that they're in grave danger if you express your anxiety around them. So it's really important to remain calm for them. The other thing you want to make sure you have is plenty of water, and there are some collapsible water bowls and things on the market that are really good for that. And you want to make sure that you have any medications that are required. You want to make sure you have at least 2 weeks worth of doses of whatever meds your cats may be on, so that you make sure that they don't go off their medications. The other thing that I always add is a little broom and dustpan, one of those little just handheld brooms and dustpans, because if you end up staying at a motel, the fact is that some motels want to gouge pet owners to allow your pets to stay there. Some don't want pets there at all. Now, if your pets are clean, I see no problem with recommending that you just bring the pets in kind of quietly. I've done that in the past. I really feel like those rules have been created mainly to make more money, and I really don't think that's fair. It's a little bit like adding pet rent onto your monthly rent at your home. I really don't think that's fair, because honestly, if you clean up after them, no one will ever know that they were there to begin with. If they are harness trained, this is a great time to put them on harness, and maybe, you know, when you stop to get gas or recharge your electric vehicle, that you let them go out and go on the grass and kind of explore a little bit. Help them get out of those carriers. Of course, when they're in the car, you always want to keep them in the carriers at all times. Mina likes to stick her head out of her carrier, don't you, Mina? She likes to see the road, watch the road ahead. But, you know, every cat's different. And so the one thing I wouldn't recommend bringing are some of these calming products that are on the market these days. If you've been watching my Don't Believe the Quacks videos, you've seen some of my commentary on that. There are a lot of things on the market claiming to be calming to cats that are really no such thing, you know. So don't invest your hard-earned money in that. Really, just take your time. The main thing you can give to them is your relaxation. I know it's a stressful time. Try to take a breath, relax, focus on what you have to do to keep everybody happy and healthy, and just move forward with it and do your best. And you know, your cats may not thank you for it, but at the end of the day, they'll be able to come back home with you, and everyone will continue to thrive. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.